Women who are so particular and opinionated and spiky that you no longer can project.
Why is everyone still mad? I've already apologized, I've used the age excuse, I've said I'm just a girl.
You're uncomfortably too human in a theater kid-esque feely type way.
Okay, what in the theater kid was that? We don't hate to see you win, that's kind of self-absorbed and narcissistic.
I think people would love Rachel if she had stayed hot and unknowable.
I think you're gonna need more than just hope. I think you better pray. Listen, I'm not trying to absolve myself from the dumb things I've said online. They're still dumb, but I was just a baby.
I don't know, but I just have never expected perfection from her.
Tea started with whispers and, within 48 hours, it exploded into a cultural firestorm. Rachel Zegler's Evita, already on thin ice after walkouts, refund demands, and accusations of performative politics, is now facing something far more serious.
That in the future, when we reflect on what happened, it is going to come to be known as the girl bosses who flew too close to the sun, okay? People say that. This is an example of that. Girl boss, I'm a girl boss. I can do whatever I want. Men ain't bleep, men are terrible, whatever. We can do whatever we want in this era.
A petition calling for the entire production to be shut down has just crossed 100,000 signatures. That's not a typo, 100,000 people, in just over a day, have signed a document declaring they've had enough. They're calling the show an insult, a distortion, a disaster that disrespects everything Evita was meant to represent.
The narcissist is going to remain a one-person wrecking crew. Please protect yourself, as their rage and their manipulation can literally make you sick, both mentally and physically. And not calling them out is not enabling. A lot of people say, if I don't call them out, then I'm part of the problem. They're already enabled, and you calling them out in a strange way enables them more.
And what's worse, it's not just trolls or online haters signing it. Verified theater critics and even longtime fans of Ziegler herself are saying the same thing. This show crossed a line.
Literally no idea why he's covered in cake, frosting, goop, slime at the end of the show. What I do love, though, is everybody trying to figure out why it's happening and what the context is. And look, I haven't seen the show. I don't know why it's happening, but the theories are incredible. Some people saying the blue and white represents the Argentinian flag. That's a yes, but why is it goopy? I don't know. If you are at the first preview of Evita, or any of Evita, if you know anything about Evita and why he's covered in stuff, let us know.
The petition itself reads like a manifesto accusing the West End adaptation of erasing historical nuance, forcing modern ideology into a sacred legacy, and casting a lead who, they claim, doesn't understand the role she's in. It's brutal, and yet, it's clearly resonating.
There's a lot of discourse right now about how Jamie Lloyd's production of Evita starring Rachel Zegler looks a lot like his production of Sunset Boulevard, and people are like, oh, is he just doing the same thing again? I saw a video just now from the creator Matt Seiler, which I totally agree with, and I'll link it in the caption, where he's talking about how, it doesn't bother me when an artist's work looks like their other work. That's just called having an artistic voice. And I would take that even further and say that it's important to have some context about the style that Jamie Lloyd is working in. I would characterize Jamie Lloyd's work as following in the tradition of European Regie Theater. And if you don't know Regie Theater, it's a German word that originated in opera that literally means director's theater. So describing the practice of, directors having an immense amount of creative control over the production.
So there's a lot of discourse right now about how Jamie Lloyd's Evita, starring Rachel Zegler, looks strikingly similar to his Sunset Boulevard production. People are asking, is he just repeating himself? I just saw a video by creator Matt Seiler linked in the caption, which I completely agree with. He talks about how it doesn't bother him when an artist's work shares visual DNA with their previous projects. That's called having an artistic voice. I'd take it a step further. It's crucial to understand the style Lloyd is working in. His approach falls within the tradition of European Regie Theater, German term meaning director's theater. It originated in opera and refers to directors having significant creative control over a production, often reinterpreting classics through a bold modern lens. Just 10 days ago, this Evita revival was being hyped as Zegler's big comeback, a chance to leave the Snow White backlash behind and prove she still had star power. But now, critics are throwing around a much darker phrase, career killer.
I'm a very mentally ill piece of...
Oh boy. This might explain some of the comments she's been making lately.
Fans are demanding apologies, and industry insiders are already whispering that the producers are in full-blown crisis mode, watching helplessly as their multi-million-pound gamble spirals into a viral catastrophe. But that's only the beginning. As the petition signatures continue to climb, a deeper controversy is starting to rise from the shadows, one that's no longer just about theater. This is evolving into something far bigger, touching on cultural tensions, industry politics, and the very definition of artistic integrity. The warning signs were there from day one. Opening night was supposed to be a celebration, red carpet photos, standing ovations, rave reviews. But what actually unfolded was chaos. Within the first 20 minutes of the show, something strange began to happen. Audience members were visibly restless, whispers turned into murmurs, and murmurs into walkouts. What should have been a triumphant debut was already unraveling right before everyone's eyes.
Rachel Zegler, her stock is through the roof after this movie.
I can't believe it. I very much had no interest in seeing Rachel Zegler in any movies heading into this. And watching this made me forget that I really don't like her as an actress.
All is forgiven with the Snow White controversy. Maybe I'm going to show up for it. I thought she was fantastic.
She was really funny.
Audience members began trickling out first, a few, then more. By the end of the second act, entire rows sat empty. Some attendees reportedly demanded refunds on the spot at the box office. Others took to TikTok and X, filming themselves storming out of the theater with captions like, "This is not Evita. This is a bad joke." The most viral clip. A young couple whispering, "Is this satire?" As Rachel Zegler belted out one of Eva Peron's most iconic lines, allegedly rewritten to include updated feminist buzzwords not found in the original. That clip alone racked up over 6 million views in just 24 hours. But it wasn't just the rewrites. Multiple reports claimed that even the applause at the end wasn't real. Accusations surfaced suggesting it was pre-cued or prompted by staff to mask the awkward silence in the room.
Writers lean so hard into feminism that they circle back around to misogyny. I still don't follow. A character learning from their mistakes is the most compelling thing that they can do. So many writers are so hung up on writing a strong, capable woman that they don't let her make any mistakes to learn from. Because women always have to be perfect. Exactly, that's why we so rarely see girl boss characters being held accountable for their actions. Things get blamed on the people around them, society, emotional trauma, and they never take personal responsibility. I never thought of it that way. A lot of writers don't like showing the strong female character as flawed and in need of personal growth, and that's very unsatisfying to viewers and readers.
A leaked memo, allegedly from inside the production, revealed that cast members were instructed to begin clapping on cue, to avoid what producers feared could become a painfully awkward silence. Then came the critics, and they were merciless. One outlet described the show as a political lecture wrapped in glitter. Another wrote, "Zegler delivers her lines like she's still on a press tour, not a stage." The energy in the theater community flipped fast. What had been marketed as bold and brave suddenly felt like a tone-deaf misfire, an ambitious swing that landed with a thud.
Rachel Zegler is the prime example of how you should never think that you're bigger than the project. I've never heard of her before. I don't know if this is her first project or if she's done movies like this before or anything that has anything to do with acting before, but girl, this wasn't it. Like, why'd you go and dog your own movie? Dog Disney, dog the writer, she dogged everything. Now she's mad because they done fired her from upcoming projects, but you're not a team player. Why would somebody want to hire you when you don't know how to play your part? Like, you didn't know how to play your part in the movie and in the real.
And the worst part, the creative team didn't seem to see it coming. According to an anonymous crew member, there were warnings during rehearsals, concerns that the tone of the show didn't align with the legacy of Eva Peron, but allegedly, those concerns were ignored. There was too much riding on Zegler's image rehab, the source said. The whole production was built around her. We couldn't change anything, even if it meant tanking the show. But while critics were ripping the show apart, something much bigger was brewing in the background, and within hours, it would explode. It began as just another change.org post. A frustrated fan venting online about the state of modern theater. But by the next morning, it was front-page news. Shut down the West End Evita revival. The headline read, beneath it, a detailed, furious indictment of everything the show had become. The author of the petition, who identifies as a longtime Evita fan and Argentine native, didn't mince words. They accused the production of westernizing a revolutionary icon, of erasing cultural nuance, and of casting an actress who used Ava's name to elevate her own brand, not honor her legacy. It was harsh, but clearly, something about it resonated. The petition exploded. Thousands of signatures poured in by the hour, then tens of thousands. By day 2, it had crossed the 100,000 mark. And the comments were brutal. One signer wrote, "This isn't Evita Teet's Instagram theater." Another said, "I grew up." And the worst part, the creative team didn't seem to see it coming. According to an anonymous crew member, there were warnings during rehearsals, concerns that the tone of the show didn't align with the legacy of Eva Perón. But allegedly, those concerns were ignored. There was too much riding on Zegler's image rehab, the source said. The whole production was built around her. We couldn't change anything, even if it meant tanking the show. But while critics were ripping the show apart, something much bigger was brewing in the background, and within hours, it would explode. It began as just another change.org post. A frustrated fan venting online about the state of modern theater. But by the next morning, it was front-page news. Shut down the West End Evita revival. The headline read, beneath it, a detailed, furious indictment of everything the show had become. The author of the petition, who identifies as a longtime Evita fan and Argentine native, didn't mince words. They accused the production of westernizing a revolutionary icon, of erasing cultural nuance, and of casting an actress who used Ava's name to elevate her own brand, not honor her legacy. It was harsh, but clearly, something about it resonated. The petition exploded. Thousands of signatures poured in by the hour, then tens of thousands. By day 2, it had crossed the 100,000 mark, and the comments were brutal. One signer wrote, "This isn't Evita Teet's Instagram theater." Another said, "I grew up, .. A user claiming to be a lighting tech, who said, "I've worked on tough productions before, but this was something else. Every night felt like a gamble. Would we even finish the run? Would there be another script update? Another backstage meltdown?" It was like building a house during an earthquake. And that earthquake, according to multiple insiders, centered around Rachel Zegler. While she was publicly framed as the fearless leader pushing the boundaries of tradition, backstage, her influence was described as suffocating. The anonymous chorus member elaborated, "It wasn't collaboration, it was obedience." The creative team didn't just listen to her, they revolved around her. Directors, choreographers, even senior producers, it was like no one wanted to be the person who said no. The result? A rehearsal room reportedly riddled with rewrites, reblocking, emotional tension, and missed cues. Several posts hinted at late-night emergency meetings, stressed-out understudies prepping alternate versions of scenes, and crew members in near-constant crisis management mode. The most haunting comment. A stagehand wrote, "This wasn't a revival, it was a rescue mission we didn't sign up for." What began as a high-profile comeback vehicle for Rachel Zegler has now spiraled into a case study in how not to reimagine a classic. Between the erasure of cultural context, the backlash from Latino artists and fans, the backstage chaos, and the online petition crossing 6 figures, the Evita revival has become less about Eva Perón's legacy and more about a modern cautionary tale in theatrical hubris. Those reviews painted a devastating picture. One viral Reddit post titled, "Evita or Eva No, TA," described the show as a chaotic blend of Instagram feminism and historical amnesia. A YouTube creator with over 250,000 followers uploaded a review simply called, "What Was That?" where they stated bluntly, "It's not Evita, it's Rachel's redemption arc disguised as theater, and nobody asked for it." Instagram theater pages followed suit. Several influencer reviewers who had previously promoted the production before opening night went dark or began quietly removing their endorsements. One even posted, "We were sold a vision, but walked into a disaster." Comments under these reviews were equally unforgiving, ranging from "I felt embarrassed for everyone on that stage" to This was like watching someone try to rewrite history with a glitter pen. Meanwhile, insiders kept leaking more. One alleged lighting assistant revealed that the technical crew was told not to overcompensate for empty rows when adjusting spotlight sweeps, a subtle directive to avoid showing the vast emptiness in wide shots. Another claimed the house staff was asked to delay opening auditorium doors until the last minute to make sparse attendance look less obvious to early arrivals. In a show built around a star's image comeback, the optics were everything and they were imploding. Critics, audiences, and even crew members seemed united in one unsettling conclusion. This wasn't just a bad show. It was a manufactured narrative that underestimated its audience. And now, with backlash stretching from social media to industry, headlines and cultural institutions calling for accountability, the question isn't just whether Evita will survive this run. The real question is whether Rachel Zegler's career will survive what it's become in the process. The common theme? The show felt more like a social media stunt than a serious production. One reviewer said, "I felt like I was watching someone rehearse a TED Talk in costume." Another added, "It's like they wanted to offend everyone of the original Latin audiences and anyone who respects theater." The term self-parody started trending alongside Evita on TikTok. Memes mocked Zegler's performance, stitching clips of her serious monologues with laugh tracks and sound effects. One post even dubbed her voiceover reality show meltdown, captioned, "I'm not dramatic, I'm Evita." That clip alone hit 9 million views. Meanwhile, Zegler's silence was starting to speak louder than words. With no public response, every day that passed made her look more disconnected, or worse, indifferent to the chaos. Fans began to feel betrayed. She stood there with pride while the legacy of Eva Perón was reduced to hashtags and soundbites. One user posted, "This wasn't empowerment, it was ego. By now, even defenders of Ziegler were backing away." What started as a controversial take on a classic had snowballed into something far uglier and, according to some sources, the damage may already be irreversible, but the storm was still building, because the next move might not come from fans or critics, but from Eva Perón's own people. Just when it seemed like the backlash couldn't go any further, a chilling new rumor started gaining traction and, this time, it didn't come from TikTok trolls or angry theater kids. It came from people with power. Whispers began circulating that several Argentine cultural institutions, including one linked to Eva Perón's preserved archives, are reportedly preparing a formal public response. Not a tweet, not a meme, but an official statement. A Buenos Aires-based journalist posted that representatives from Fundación Eva Perón have received dozens of outraged messages from Argentines abroad, accusing the show of disrespecting their national icon. According to the same report, internal discussions are underway about whether to denounce the production as a misrepresentation of Eva's legacy or worse, demand its closure altogether. If that happens, the fallout could escalate beyond social media drama into a full-blown international scandal. It wouldn't be the first time Argentina defended her memory. Past Evita productions have been altered, paused, or banned outright when cultural groups felt the line had been crossed. The musical isn't just entertainment, it's a symbol of history, pride, and pain. Portraying Eva as a flashy modern influencer isn't just lazy, it's offensive. Sources close to the production say security has quietly been increased backstage, and a theater staffer told a gossip blog that protests may be planned outside future performances as the viral petition nears 150,000 signatures. They're worried it's about to get political, fast. Meanwhile, cast morale is reportedly at an all-time low. Several background actors have allegedly stopped showing up to rehearsals. Crew members are begging not to be scheduled, and the energy inside the theater is, in one word, toxic. Ziegler herself has remained silent, but insiders say there's panic behind the scenes. Her team is reportedly weighing whether to pull her from the production entirely to salvage her long-term reputation, but with damage already done, many are wondering, is it too late? This time, it's not just fans walking out to its history itself, and history may not forgive. What began as a comeback has become a catastrophe for Rachel. Zegler's Evita was supposed to be her redemption arc, returned to form after the Snow White disaster. A chance to prove she could command a stage, carry a legacy, and win back the audience she'd lost. Instead, it's turned into a cautionary tale about ego, overreach, and what happens when cultural icons are repackaged into trendy soundbites without understanding the soul behind them. The petition to shut down the show didn't appear out of nowhere. It was a response, a boiling point, And with over 100,000 signatures and counting, it's more than just backlash. It's a movement, a demand that theater, especially theater rooted in real lives and real legacies, be handled with care, not used for clout-chasing. Zegler, single quotes, as silence has only poured fuel on the fire. Critics, fans, and insiders are all asking the same thing. Why hasn't she said anything? Is it arrogance? Strategy? Or is she just hoping it'll blow over, that the outrage cycle will move on to someone else? But this one might not go away. Because at the heart of it isn't just a musical, it's the legacy of a woman who inspired a nation and a performance that many feel has turned her into a caricature. This isn't just criticism, it's cultural grief. And for a show that was meant to honor Eva Perón's memory, that may be the ultimate irony. Whether the production gets shut down remains to be seen. Whether Ziegler speaks, steps down, or pushes forward, no one knows. But one thing is certain, this story is far from over, and whatever comes next, it won't be quiet.